Have you ever tried to convince a friend to go on some giant, fast, dangerous-looking ride with you? Maybe you've been the friend who can't be convinced. Either way, at some point in the conversation, you'll run into the critical question. Why would anyone want to go on that thing? When I've been asked, I find it kind of hard to articulate my reasoning. Ultimately, I think it comes down to an almost out-of-body experience. The ride is just so fast, with so many corkscrews or loops or low tunnels that my brain can't consciously keep up. It forces me out of my own head. And at the end of the ride, I usually find myself laughing, almost maniacally. It's like all of the feelings in my body were put on hold, and then all those endorphins flood back right at the same time. I have felt this way with games before, but it's rare. A few instances in Thumper, maybe the Kronos fight in God of War 3, some of those final stages of bosses in Fury. Unfortunately, I tend to get a tolerance for those experiences pretty quickly. I can fight Kronos 3 times in a row, but there's no way the second or the third time will be as breathless as the first. But then, this year, I found a game that gets that feeling. It gets it just right. It demands that I get out of my head and live in the moment, and it manages to deliver the most frenetic, exhilarating experiences I've ever felt while playing a game. Why am I trying to build suspense here? You've seen the title, you know what's coming. It's Beat Saber. Beat Saber is the most fun game I've ever played.
You shop at IKEA, so Maserati you whipping the Kia. Spending this money is stronger than Nia. Just like a couple of me and Sophia.
I was lucky enough to write for Game Informer this summer. I was an intern and kind of given free reign to mess around with everything they had there as long as I finished my Fortnite news and listicles for the week. And I had never really tried VR, so I went to their prescribed VR room and just started messing around. I played Budget Cuts. It was cool. I played Superhot. It was great. I played Rez. I teared up. And in the middle of that, I played Beat Saber, and it was neat. It was really neat. It was nice and responsive and seemed like they really accomplished what they were going for. And then I kind of let it be for a while. And then I saw something interesting pop up in my YouTube suggestion box. So I downloaded that mod. And holy... The game is kind of like Guitar Hero mixed with Fruit Ninja. Notes are coming at you down a track, and you slice them in time with the music. You've got a lightsaber in each hand, and the sword color corresponds with the notes you slice with that hand. Sometimes you've got to dodge colored walls that come down the track.
Walk without rhythm, it won't attract the worm.
And that's it. It's insanely simple. The official tutorial for this game takes literally 30 seconds. My mom was able to figure it out. And when it was initially released, the developers of the game went for a really specific musical style. And it's a choice that makes sense. Beat Saber is all about slashing notes with the beat, and so it tracks that they make that beat as easy to follow as possible. And they did that by using pretty much exclusively EDM. And I get that. I want to stress this. I support that choice. These handful of tracks really show off the fundamentals of the game, and the songs are catchy-ish, and I understand why they made that decision. But Beat Saber is a game about music. And music, it's not something that ends with you just understanding it. We develop visceral connections with certain songs for a reason. You gotta feel it. And that's the reason that I finished playing $100 Bills, one of the songs initially included with the game, and I thought, that was really cool. But then I downloaded Mr. Blue Sky, and when I finished, I practically screamed, oh my god, did I just do that? Holy shit! Mr. Blue Sky is one of thousands of tracks mapped by members of the community completely for free. And they can all be accessed via an in-game browser, also made by the community, also for free. And there are dozens of songs being released every day. And this phenomenon, this user-created content, this is where the game gets really interesting on an actual gameplay level. Because difficulty is a fascinating thing when it comes to Beat Saber. I've never felt bad at the game. I think that's one of the things that hooked me. Even on easy or normal, slashing notes in time with the music just feels good. And it's because they're coming in time. It feels appropriate. It never feels dumbed down for you. And then as you're playing, you start to get better. You can't help it. You only do one thing in the entire game. You're gonna improve at it. I loved Red Dead 2, and I played it for some ungodly amount of time, but there are so many skills involved in playing that game. I rode horses, and I shot people, and I played blackjack, and probably improved at all of those things. Kinda?
Card, please.
13.
Let's try it again.
16.
I'm gonna try that again.
But I never really felt like I was getting better, because there were always other things I was learning at the same time. And because there's so many things, I don't think Red Dead ever really pushes you on any of them. It's about progression through a lovely and meaningful story, so it doesn't really need to, but it's also not like it's a walking simulator. If I'm gonna have skill-based gameplay, I want the chance to, strengthen those skills. But Beat Saber? It's just this, man. And so every act of playing gets you better for every future time you play. But what's even cooler is the actual things you're improving. Years ago, I begged my parents for a Nintendo Wii. It's based on movement, I said. It'll get me fit, I lied. Now, in 2018, I'm finally not lying about working out with a video game. When I first played this track, I literally couldn't move fast enough to hit the notes. But I've been on a Beat Saber regiment for the past 6 months now, and it's not just muscle memory, it's actual muscle. I have gotten better and faster, stronger. Different songs demand different things from you too. Rasputin is a super popular one for good reason. The positions of the notes make you do the Rasputin dance, whipping your arms from one side to another. These feel totally different from the circles and reverse circles you're pulling off in Intergalactic, and the aptly named 500 Squats map is, well, what I found even more interesting about Beat Saber's difficulty is how my brain has adapted to the movements by fully automating incredibly complex sequences of notes. I have no idea what I'm doing here. If you asked me to recreate the hand motions now, I totally couldn't do it. In fact, if I start thinking about what I'm doing while I'm playing the song, I mess myself up. It's like I'm learning chord progressions. I've started unconsciously chunking sequences of notes together, and it's not just on songs I've played dozens of times before. This will happen the first time I play something. Of course, I get better through knowledge of individual songs as well, but I've started to learn the common language that links all these maps together. And that's wild, because as I mentioned before, these maps are all made by different people, and there's no official rulebook on how to make a Beat Saber map, so people go about it really differently. One of the early standouts was Benny the Beast, a mapper with a real knack for making danceable tracks. His work on Can't Stop the Feeling and Midnight City and Uptown Funk are legendary within the community. It seems like Benny was one of the first people to realize potential outside of just creating more maps like the ones that were already included. You can tell when you're playing a Benny track that he's thought about where your entire body is going to be. Notes don't come as fast as some mappers, but their positions force you to start bouncing and moving despite yourself. Another early standout was Great Yeazer, and he is my personal favorite. That Mr. Blue Sky track from the beginning, that was him, and he has continued to just make exceptionally high quality maps from all sorts of musical styles. This song is from The Mask,
Spoken!
The Mask. And it's so unbelievably upbeat and jazzy and cool. Or this one, with a song by Parov Stellar. In a Yeazer map, everything feels just in the right place. There are never notes that feel cheap or unexpected. They might be complex, sure, but you get a hold on one of Yeazer's songs, you feel like you could do it with your eyes closed. And there's so many others. There are the blistering rat maps from Jules VR, maps that are surprisingly doable so long as you don't drop the beat, not even for a second. There's Ruckus, who demonstrates a command of incredible range of challenge, from the pleasantly difficult to the, good lord. And so I kinda know what I'm in for with each of these mappers. It's like they're all painters in the same abstract school, but they each have managed to maintain an identifiable style. I could differentiate a Benny map from a Jules map, no problem. But playing one gives me the skills I may have been lacking in another, so they actually build on each other instead of competing for the spotlight. Beat Saber consistently delivers that best of all video game feelings, the thing where you absolutely could not beat something no matter how hard you tried, and then you come back a little while later and just nail it. There have been so many times that I thought I reached my skill ceiling within the game. First here, then this one, then every time I've managed to come out on top. But they always happened almost by accident. I think, wow, it's been a long time since I tried that song, and then I'd do it and I'd somehow pass with flying colors. Now I'm confident there's basically no skill ceiling. Sure, there's some songs I've been stuck on for a while, but that's never stopped me before. And from the look of things on YouTube, I'm far from the top of the Beat Saber food chain. This guy's doing it like Darth Maul? Are you kidding me? If Beat Saber was originally released as a game, this community of people have made it into something more. It's a musical instrument, or maybe it's a form of dance, or maybe it's just a celebration of the songs that have meant something to us over the years. But whatever it is, Beat Saber is just exploding with content and passion. There's so much more I could say about the game. Along with songs, the community makes mods that change the swords, the lighting, the platforms you stand on. I can play with the 2 swords from Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, which is the greatest gift anyone has given me this year. I prefer to play with the skybox, standing far above the clouds, as well as saving my FPS, and let me tell you, I need every last one of them. It makes me feel like some ancient master on a mountaintop temple. I usually have a fan pointed at me while I'm playing, so that just adds verisimilitude to this demonstrably ridiculous experience. There's the fact that someone made the entire movie of Shrek into a map earlier this year. Every line of dialogue, every sound effect, every hit that keeps coming and doesn't stop coming. I actually got to write about that at Game Informer. I finally wore them down after asking to write about Beat Saber every day for months. And the best thing I can say about the game is I still want to play it every day. I played it every day at Game Informer, and then when I finished there, I did a Craigslist deal in a parking lot to buy my own Oculus, and I relentlessly cleared a square in my house to make room to flail around, and it was worth it. I've had trouble finishing this video because every time I start talking about it, I want to go play it again. Beat Saber is an exercise that I can get better at. It's a dance club where I'm confident I'm actually doing the right moves. It's that roller coaster that I'm hyping myself up to get on, and somehow even the 1000th time around, I still get that breathless feeling. It feels kind of silly to say that Beat Saber is one of my favorite games ever when the other titles on that list are contemplative, highbrow stuff like Shadow of the Colossus and The Beginner's Guide, but it is. It is a simple idea executed perfectly with room for millions of variations. Beat Saber is a VR's Tetris, and I hope, it'll be a formula that sticks around for a long, long time.